Hey guys, what's up? So today we are going to talk a little bit about wheelchair, and apparently my mascara got crazy. Anyways, actually it's more I broke my eye. Wheelchair and accessibility. I wrote down some topics here. So for those of you who don't know, I was in a wheelchair for like 2 months, I think. Yeah, something like that. And while I was in a wheelchair, there are a lot of things that people don't take into consideration that affect people who are in wheelchairs. So I want to kind of talk about some of the different things that may seem silly to you and small, but to someone in a wheelchair, huge. Life would not be possible without it, you know? So the first one is doors. Do you know how hard it is to, as you're wheeling yourself in, try to open a door as well? It's ridiculously hard, and according to ADA law, you are required to have one push button door for a public building. But there are places that don't have that. I went to a school while I was in the wheelchair, and they didn't have any of their doors that did that. So that really took away from me, you know. I was not able to get in and out of the school by myself. Like, luckily there were some other kids around me that were super sweet, but yeah. Anyways, bathrooms. Okay, so nothing pisses me off more than when people not in wheelchairs go into handicapped bathroom. Like, if it's not an emergency, hold it. Because, like, anyways, it irritates me, and I don't. And I think it's really just because, like, while I was in the wheelchair, I'm like, that's the only stall that I fit into, you know, like, and, like, it has the special rails so that you can get yourself out and everything like that, you know. So it's just, like, leave their bathrooms alone, okay? Like, if you can avoid it, don't do it, alright? Like, don't be an ass. The other thing about the bathrooms is, I thought I'd just touch on this since we're already here. Showers. Obviously they can't stand up in the shower, but you don't want to put your wheelchair in there either, so they have, like, the little chairs that you sit in there, and it's like, the floor is almost level for them to get in. It's pretty interesting. There are several different ways too. That's not just the only one. That's just the one that I've seen the most of. Not everybody can do that, you know, so there are some people who literally just have to have somebody come in, put them in the chair, and do it for them, you know. Luckily that was not me. I was able to put, like, a tiny bit of pressure on my foot, so I was able to get into, like, the shower to sit down and, like, kind of take a bath / shower. Anyways, and then making things low enough that they can get to them and everything, and having things that, like, hang down and stuff like that. So, I mean, just some little things that people don't think about, you know. Aisles. Stores. Your aisles have to be far enough apart for someone in a wheelchair to go through. It's the law. There's no question about it. It's ADA law. So they need to be able to buy clothes too. That's what that means. Like, you can't just close it off to them because they're in a wheelchair, you know. Like, and the reason I mention clothing is because it seems like those are always so close together. It's almost claustrophobic, you know. And then also, it's not really fair to them that you have shit on the top shelf. I do like, however, what Walmart has done with the pickup. Like, you can choose whatever you want and they just take it out to your car. And I think for people who do have this kind of handicap, that helps them a lot. Because I know for me it helped a lot just not having to get in and out of the car, because that's a process. And if you don't have a car that's made for that, we'll get to that in a second. And actually, cars is my next thing on my list. So, cars. Some people, of course, if they're permanently wheelchair bound, they have special cars that have the ramps that come out, and some even have one where their chair locks in and they have, like, hand controls on the steering wheel to do, like, gas and brake. and stuff like that. So I mean, we really come a long way as far as that. And of course there's buses and stuff like that, and buses, not all school buses have it, which I was kind of confused how that was really fair, but there is like usually a special bus who has like the ramp to take them on and off the bus, you know, stuff like that. And it's really not that big of a deal that it's not on every bus. It sucks and makes life rough, you know what I mean? But I didn't like the bus to begin with, so everybody else is probably like, no, bus is a big deal. Alright, so purses, and I know this sounds stupid, but all these purses that are supposed to hang down, or all this other stuff where you wear it on your arm, guess what? Their arm is trying to push the freaking wheelchair. Like, so for me, backpack worked well because you could hook it on either like handle in the back. Yeah, it just, that worked for me. But I've seen some people who get really creative. Like one girl that I've seen on YouTube, she uses a fanny pack. Fire hazards. So obviously someone who is in a wheelchair can't go down the stairs just because the elevators don't work because of a fire. I ran into this in my high school as well. We had a fire drill. I was on the second floor and they didn't have an evacuatrack for me. If you don't know what an evacuatrack is, it is a machine that helps, that you sit a person in, and it's meant to roll down the stairs so that you're able to get them out and safe, you know, just the same way you are everyone else. But they didn't have one for me. So luckily I had some really good friends, and one of them took my wheelchair down the stairs and the other one kind of helped me. Like, I put one arm around her and leaned on the rail with the other, and the teachers are just like, well, I don't know what to do with you, blah blah blah. And like, so we figured it out on our own. When we got to the bottom, the principal was there. She didn't say much. She was just like, that's unacceptable. And I was like, well, we tried to tell you because me and my mom did. Anyways, so you need to make sure that there's arrangements that you have in place in case there is someone, even if it's just having a man that you know can carry up to 200 pounds, you know, whatever it is, the weight restriction you want to make. Like, you have to make sure that you are prepared for these situations. The other thing is sidewalks. What the hell, people? It may not seem like a big deal to you guys, but when they're uneven, it's extremely hard to roll over, especially if you had to slow down or stop. Like, as long as you get a momentum going, it's not very bad. And rocks, like, why is half of the gravel out in the middle of the sidewalk, guys? Why? I am very thankful to not be in the wheelchair anymore, but who knows how long that's gonna last. Let's see, your hands, like, you use your hands a lot, so a lot of them have like special gloves that go over their hands to kind of keep it from rubbing. Usually a lot of long-term users now have electric, so I mean, restaurants. Do you know how many places we've been to where they don't have a place for someone with a wheelchair? And I'm like, really? Like, my grandparents came to visit, and my grandma can walk. She just has really bad arthritis, so we had gotten a wheelchair so that we could shop even more, and all just really enjoy ourselves, and she didn't have to be in that pain, you know. And we went into this restaurant. It was one of my favorites in the mall where I worked. And we sat down, and they didn't have a place for us to put her up to the table in the wheelchair. Obviously, she didn't need it, but that's something you guys need to take into consideration. You need to have a plan of how you can adjust things to accommodate that type of thing, just because they should be able to have dinner with their family out. I mean, it's just that. And I'm not saying you have to make the whole room accommodated, but even just pulling them out, like making sure one table has room to be pulled out a foot, you know, something like that. I know it seems stupid, but it'll make somebody's day when you're able to make that happen for them. That's just it. I mean, ramps, that's another great resource, but it is hard for you to kind of get going up the ramps, especially the ones that turn. So just try to be consider it. Like, if you see someone struggling, not everybody wants help, right? Honestly, I didn't really want a lot of help, but it happened. Like, people were really nice. They could tell, like, this just wasn't ever gonna happen. Best thing to do is to just ask, you know, plain and simple. But yeah, movies. So how do you go to the movies? There actually are now, and it's becoming more and more common, of course, the ramps going in, and then they have spots where it's just like there's a rail where they can park their wheelchair and then sit in the chair. Most places have that now. For the longest time, it was just they could put their wheelchair there. Like, you just paid to come into the movie to sit in your wheelchair. And for some people, that's the most comfortable. But I like the theaters that have the options. Most of the AMCs do now, which was pretty awesome. Also, our AMC has heated seats, which really I love, because I get in a lot of pain when I'm cold. And then my last but not least, getting into bed. As you can see, this is my bed. It's messy because, well, I don't really have a good excuse. It just, like, wasn't happening this morning with my wrist and my hand and my arm and my shoulder. That's what's hurt. So they have, like, different aids and stuff that they push up off of to get in there, or they just have somebody who assists them to get in bed in the evening, you know, if it's really that severe. Speaking of my shoulder, I went to work today, and one of my kids came in and was like, "Miss Victoria, what did you do to your ankle?" And I was like, "What is this?" And she's like, "Arm." Oh, arm. It was so cute. She does have some issues with like hearing and getting, like, some of those things kind of flipped around. I mean, a lot of kids have that. She just is always so cute about it because she just, like, makes this little noise after. Anyways, it was really sweet. Anyways, you guys, remember, be considerate. Realize that you have no idea what they're going through until you are in a wheelchair and completely debilitated. You may think, well, why don't you just blah 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 blah, and try not to say it like somebody who's ignorant. Okay, like, if you want to ask questions, most people are open to that, but make sure you're asking them in a respectful manner. Anyways, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.